Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're doing well. In the last videos, we covered some FastAPI concepts. We created our first FastAPI application with some HTTP methods, like GET and POST endpoints. We also saw how to work with Swagger documentation and JSON, and how FastAPI serves JSON responses. We also saw that FastAPI can render and serve HTML pages, not just JSON. Today, we are going to dive into a new concept. It's one of the important concepts in FastAPI: path parameters. In this video, we are going to see what path parameters are and how to use them. To start with path parameters, as you remember, we already created this GET endpoint that returns all the menu items, as you can see here. If we go to the browser and search for API/menu, we will find the menu, which shows all the items. But look, sometimes, for example, we may want just the information for one menu item. Are we going to fetch all the menu items and then take one every time? Sometimes we will need just one item. For that, we can use this new concept called path parameters. For example, in the URL, we can do something like this. After menu, we add /1. So menu1 can give us item number 1, or we can use /menu2, which will give us item number 2. It's just like this. Generally, path parameters are variables that we put directly in the URL. FastAPI detects them and extracts their values automatically, and based on those values, we can return the corresponding data. Now to see this, let's create our first endpoint that contains a path parameter. Let's create a simple GET endpoint for the same URL /API/menu, and after that, we add a path parameter. In FastAPI, to create a path parameter, you define it inside curly brackets, as you can see here. For our path parameter, let's use ID. Then we define a simple function. Let's name it getMenuItem, and this function will receive the ID parameter. It's the same ID that we added to the path, and the function receives its value. For now, to simplify things, let's just return this ID. We'll return a simple JSON response that contains this ID. To show you this, let's go to the URL and navigate to /API/menu/1. As you can see, it returns a JSON response containing ID1. If we change it from 1 to 2, it will show 2. You can also use a string. It doesn't necessarily have to be an integer. For example, if we put hello, as you can see, it returns hello. You can also use a float value, and so on. To understand this, let's add a new key to our JSON. For example, it will be type, and it will show the type of this ID parameter using type.name. If we save and check it, as you can see, the type is there. Even if the ID parameter is 1.2, which is a float value, the type will still be a string. So there's a new thing to remember here. Path parameters that come from the URL are received as strings by default. Everything in a URL is text, unless FastAPI is explicitly told to convert and validate it to another type. As I said here, FastAPI can, for example, convert the parameter to other types. To do that, we just need to add a type hint to the ID parameter. For example, after ID, we specify int. What does this mean? This means that FastAPI will convert this ID path parameter to an integer, and it will also validate it. If the path parameter is not a valid integer, FastAPI will automatically raise a validation error. To test that, let's go now and refresh. As you can see, the type is now integer. For example, let's use 1.2, which is a float. As you can see, FastAPI raises an error saying that the input should be a valid integer. 1.2 is a float, so it's not a valid integer. That's why FastAPI raises an error. If we put a string, it will do the same thing. FastAPI will return an error because the path parameter is not a valid integer. FastAPI validates the path parameter based on the type hint we define, and if the value doesn't match that type, it automatically returns a validation error. That's it. Now, if we put a valid integer like 12, everything is okay. We can also test this from the Swagger documentation. For example, you will find a new GET endpoint created here. If we try it, click Try It Out, and as you can see, there's a new path parameter. It's ID, and it's required. You can also see that the type is integer. Let's enter 20 and click Execute. As you can see, it will return a JSON response containing the ID and its type, which is integer. Also, we can use multiple path parameters. For example, let's go back to our GET endpoint. Here we can add a new parameter for the restaurant. For example, /restaurant, and then we put the restaurant ID. After that, we have /menu, and then the menu ID. The same thing applies here. We can add these parameters to the function. the function will receive them as arguments. We add Python type hints for validation, and they will be integers. Here, we can just return some JSON content containing the restaurant ID and the menu ID, as you can see. It's just a simple example. If we go back to the Swagger documentation, we now have two path parameters. The first one is REST ID, and the second one is ID. For REST ID, let's put 2, and for ID, let's put 10. As you can see, it returns the result correctly. Just like that, path parameters are easy to use. With this feature, we can serve content dynamically, which gives us a lot of possibilities and advantages when building our APIs. We can test it directly from the browser as well. For example, if we enter APIs restaurant/menu3, as you can see, it returns REST ID 2 and ID 3. That's it. Also, if we go to the restaurant ID and put a string instead, it will raise a validation error. I think you understand the idea of path parameters. Now let's use them. For example, I will show you how we can use them in our menu, in our restaurant menu, to show just one item at a time. Here I will delete all of this. As you can see, every item in our menu has an ID. The idea is simple. We will return the item that has the same ID as the one passed as a path parameter. To do that, for example, let's loop over the menu items, and for each item, we will check if the item's ID is equal to the path parameter ID. If it matches, we will return that item. If we reach the end of the for loop without finding a match, that means that no item matches that ID. We will return an error saying item not found. I think the idea is simple. We just loop over the menu items and return the item that matches the path parameter ID. Now let's go to the browser and open /API/menu/1. As you can see, it returns item number 1, which has ID 1. It's the margarita pizza, as you can see. The same thing we can do with 2, and it will return item number 2. We can also use 3 to return item number 3. Let's try an ID that doesn't exist, for example, 100. As you can see, it says item not found. That's it. We can also test it from Swagger, but before that, there is another thing I want to show you. Let's click Inspect, and then go to the Network tab. Now let's reload the page. As you can see, you will find the response here, but look, the response message says item not found, while the response status code is 200 OK. This doesn't really make sense, especially when building a real API. If the item is not found, we should return an appropriate HTTP status code that indicates that the requested item does not exist. For example, we can use 404 not found. To fix that, let's go back to the code. Here from FastAPI, let's import status, and also from FastAPI.responses, let's import JSONResponse. Now let's go back to our function. Here, instead of returning just a simple message saying item not found, we will return a JSON response. In the JSON response, we define the status code, and it will be equal to status.http 404 not found, which means not found. In the content, we'll put our message saying item not found. Now if we go back and test it and refresh the page, as you can see, the status code is correct. It returns 404, which means not found, and the message hasn't changed. That's it. We can also test it from the Swagger documentation. Click Try It Out, and let's put 2. As you can see, it returns item number 2. Let's put, for example, 200, which doesn't exist. As you can see, it returns item not found, and the status code is 404, which is correct. I think the idea is clear. Look, there is a note here. In the last video, we showed that FastAPI can also serve HTML pages. We can also use path parameters with HTML pages. You know what I mean? We can use path parameters to add a feature here. For example, if we have a list of items, we can create a separate page for each item and add a simple button here. When we click on each button, it will show the page for that specific item. But look, this is not the topic of the upcoming video. I will show you how to work with HTML in FastAPI. There is a concept called Jinja templates, which is a common way to work with HTML pages in FastAPI. Also, in FastAPI, in most cases, we use it to build APIs rather than to build HTML pages. FastAPI can serve HTML pages as well, but in many cases, its main use is to build APIs. That's it for this video, and see you in the next video.